In the next part of the evening, we're having two readers who sent in stories to us in response to our last salon, which was a celebration of Angela Carter. We had a whole bunch of stories to choose from, which was immense fun and great reading. So thank you to anyone who did send in stories. And we'll encourage all of you and more of you to send in stories again, because we will do this again with an opportunity to read at a salon in June. There'll be details on the website. But anyway, after reading them all and thinking about fantastical stories and the influence of Angela Carter, we chose two stories, and our first one is going to be read by Oscar Windsor-Smith, who is regularly at the Word Factory, so it's really lovely to have you back again, Oscar. A little bit about Oscar first. He's born in the Wirral, and in between that and starting his BA in creative writing at Birkbeck, he has been a semi-pro musician, an electrical contractor, a husband, a father, a grandfather, and still is. So now he's studying at Birkbeck and says he enjoys writing to prompts and writing challenges, which is how he came to write the story he's going to read tonight, which is called Mousetrap. Enjoy, Oscar.
Thanks, Zoe. I'm not really quite sure why I'm here. The theme is sublime women, but been some kind of a mistake. Anyhow, here we go. Mousetrap. I'd found the flyer on my doormat on the Sunday morning. That fact alone should have rung warning bells. What would you give to be slim? It demanded in 24-point bold characters. What would I give? Good question. After Saturday night, an arm or a leg seemed like fair exchange. Apparently, this new biotech slimming therapy took only hours to work. Hours. They said it guaranteed permanent weight loss. Permanent. Exactly what I needed. Better still, the offer was free for 7 days. And transport was included to a clinic somewhere near Bratislava. All I had to do was sign up for a clinical trial. I wish I'd dumped that flyer. But then again, no, honestly, I would have trashed it. But that Saturday night had plumbed new depths of embarrassment. The introduction agency had given their usual cautions about first meetings on neutral ground. So I suggested Tony's Bistro. God knows why. Tony's had been the setting for so many dating fiascos. My date, Leslie, arrived on time, a slim, attractive blonde. It appeared she had told the truth about her age. She lost no time in pointing out that mine was not as advertised, and neither was my physique. Her eyes betrayed disgust at first glance, but that was before she'd scanned Tony's excellent menu. The menu was usually a point in my favour, and so it proved on this occasion. I don't suppose Simon Faulkner is your real name, Leslie sighed, waiting for starters, or that you're really a journalist. I assured her that both these claims were true. I displayed my NUJ card and regaled her with the day-to-day workings of computerised journalism. She nodded from time to time during the starter and main course. Occasionally she even made polite sounds. When I mentioned certain ongoing inquiry, however, she suddenly became animated. Leslie set her cutlery down. Professor Sullivan and her research partner disappeared? Indeed, I said, cunningly employing brevity to extend a seam of conversational gold. 5 years and you discovered no more? Only rumours. Rumours? Unauthorised experiments. Was that at the Institute for Genomic Solutions? I didn't mention IGO, I said. Leslie glanced away. She took a sip of wine. You don't sound like a hairdresser, Leslie. What do you really do? I make inquiries too, she mumbled. A sort of headhunter. Is tonight business or pleasure? Let's call it social. My head's safe then? She smiled awkwardly. I must have seen something in the news, an intriguing mystery, that's all. Brimming with eager hormones and vain hope, I took Leslie at her word. They were doing groundbreaking research, I said. The waiter cleared our plates and proffered the dessert menu. Leslie scanned the choices. She leant toward me. Do you know in which field? Christine Sullivan is a geneticist, I said. Her partner, David Dean, is an authority on parasitic nematodes. Nematodes? I produced my iPhone, displayed a colour image. Worms, I said. The kind that lay their eggs in living hosts. Leslie changed her mind about dessert. Immediately after coffee, she glanced at her watch. Well, thank you, she said, for a very different evening. Leslie stood. She studied me critically. It's such a shame, Simon, she sighed. You could be a very attractive man without all that blubber. And then she left. 2 hours after takeoff from London Stansted, I emerged from Bratislava Ivanka Airport. As images of fairy tale buildings glinting in evening sunlight filled my imagination, a text appeared on my phone. The courtesy car had broken down, so I headed for the taxi rank. At first, all the drivers greeted me in English. When I gave my destination, all but one ceased to understand. The remaining English speaker handled my bag as if it might contain a bomb. He said, "There are many excellent hotels here in Bratislava, sir." "Thank you," I said. "Please take me to the address I gave." "Bratislava is a beautiful city, sir, the coronation place of the Austro-Hungarian Empire." "I don't doubt it," I said, clicking my seatbelt into place. "Take me to the clinic, please." At every town and village along our route, my driver pointed out hotels and regaled me with eloquent recommendations. Soon after the last glow of human habitation had disappeared behind us, and wooded mountains loomed from encroaching twilight, my driver pulled up sharply, demanding payment. I had little choice but pay his exorbitant fare or be abandoned. He pocketed my cash and drove on in silence, with only occasional passing headlights to lighten the gloom. Higher and higher we travelled, along winding roads before the taxi slowed and stopped. I took out my phone, but could find no signal. In his rear-view mirror, the driver's eyes stared into mine. "In these mountains we are close to 3 countries," he said, "but remote as shadows on the moon." Outside I could make out iron gates, but no sign of lights. "Where is the clinic?" I asked. "The castle lies a kilometre beyond the entrance." "Why have you stopped here?" "The gates are closed." "I'll open them," I said, releasing my seatbelt. "No, I go no further," he snapped. With that he leapt out and scurried around to the boot for my bag. The second I stepped outside, he thrust the bag into my hand and dived back into the taxi. Without another word, he roared off. "Thanks!" I shouted at vanishing tail lights. The gibbous moon was playing hide-and-seek with banks of cloud, making darkness all the darker when it hid. Fumbling around, I found the miniature torch on my keychain and shone its feeble beam at the gate. It was firmly secured. A pedestrian gate alongside gave slightly to my shove. It opened with a rusty screech to reveal a gravel driveway, hemmed in by trees that stretched off into the night. 1 kilometre is a long way alone in a dark Slovakian forest. I sensed movements among the trees. Of course, these could have been figments of my overwrought imagination. They could have been shadows cast by sporadic moonlight or my trembling torch. Muffled sounds might have been the trick of a breeze, but the furtive crunch of footsteps behind me was no mistake. The moon disappeared. Stealthy footsteps increased in frequency, drawing closer. I turned, and in my torch's dying beam caught a flash of steel, brandished in the fist of a nightmare figure. Skin stretched tight over bone, corpse-like, but very much alive. Recoiling, I screamed and blindly swung my bag. The blow that struck my right shoulder I mistook for a punch. Then hot blood flowed down my arm, and I collapsed. I awoke in blinding light. I was lying on a cold, hard surface encircled by figures in scrubs and masks. Beyond the arc of light, my surroundings echoed. Whiffs of anaesthetic and hand cleanser could not overcome the dank atmosphere. "Ah, Mr. Faulkner, you're back with us," the male voice of a masked figure. I ran cautious fingers over my throbbing shoulder, located a ripple of fresh sutures, and backtracked through the haze of memories. "Professor Dean?" I said. "Indeed." The professor removed his mask and turned toward the others. "You see, he is a bright one, far too well informed to be free." "But an ideal candidate for our beta trials," said a strangely familiar female voice. Leslie removed her mask. "Oh, God," I said. "But if you're going to kill me, why did you fix my shoulder?" "Kill you?" said a second woman. Christine Sullivan, I guessed. "Why on earth would we do that?" "No, Simon. We'll make your slimming dreams come true, and then you shall endorse and promote our services." Reacting, perhaps, to my puzzled stare, Professor Sullivan moved out of sight. She returned bearing a laboratory jars whose contents squirmed with fleshy life. "These beauties are variants of Ascaris lumbricides, a nematode that naturally affects pigs. At IGO, we chanced upon a natural mutation." Lovely stuff. Sullivan clicked a switch projecting images of slim, muscular pigs onto the dungeon wall. "It has this remarkable effect," she said. She clicked the switch again. The pigs disappeared. Farmers were not best pleased with our svelte porkers, but David Dean and I spotted potential. Professor Sullivan helped me to my feet. "I carried out some genetic tweaks," she said, "and here we are." Leslie guided me to a changing room where I found fresh clothes. The jacket and trousers proved a very snug fit. I met the scientist again. "You may experience a wriggling sensation in your flesh," said Christine Sullivan, "but you'll get used to it." She laughed. "I'm afraid you'll have to. Your symbiotic lodgers are with you for life." Anger surfaced at last. "You've treated me without my agreement," I shouted. "What's to stop me telling the world?" "You must understand, Simon," said Professor Dean. "Our treatment is not entirely benign. You were attacked by an unfortunate casualty of our early experiments." He grimaced contritely. Professor Sullivan interrupted. "Our nematodes do thrive on a diet of excess body fat," she said. "Regrettably, without an antidote, they also develop an unfortunate appetite for brain tissue." I was still processing the implications of this when they escorted me to out of the castle to a waiting car. My new jacket now hung baggy on my shoulders. It felt strange, but good. Leslie kissed me on the cheek. She pushed a fold of paper into my hand and whispered, "Ring me." I was about to enter the car when Professor Dean drew me aside. "Persuading nematodes to digest human fat is the easy part, Simon," he said, in the intimate tones of one admitting another to a conspiracy. "Our commercial advantage lies in controlling them. We call this our mousetrap strategy." My confusion must have shown. "I'm sure you know of the Agatha Christie play," he said, "how at the end they ask you to keep the secret." I nodded, none the wiser. "The difference with our mousetrap is," Dean sidled forward. He held the door open and ushered me into the car. "You must keep our secret and pay our very reasonable monthly premium to receive regular supplies of the antidote." Professor Dean lowered the window before closing the door with one emphatic clunk. "Of course, should you fail in either of these commitments..." Dean gave an arch sigh of resignation. As the car drew away, he waved. "Goodbye, Simon," he called. "I wish you a slim and happy life."